Can you buy cheap AliExpress cassettes? Well, that's what I'm making this video to answer. So this one I've got here is from ZTTO. I got it from AliExpress for cheap. And how does it compare to Shimano cassettes? How much does it weigh? How good is the shifting? I'm going to answer all of that today, so stick around to the end to find out everything about these cassettes. And I'm also going to show you some of the close-ups of the shifting as well, so you can see the chain moving up and down. First of all, let's talk about the price, because this is its main selling point. This is the reason you buy stuff from AliExpress, and this one comes in at £74. Now, that's the price that I bought it for like a year and a half ago. However, prices do fluctuate and change between seller to seller on AliExpress, so what I bought it for might not be what you bought it for. However, £74 is still a massive saving, especially when you consider you'll be buying an ultegra cassette that will be heavier than this. And considering you're normally spending, what, like £250 for a Dura 12-speed cassette? Well, this comes in a hell of a lot cheaper. Let me give you more details about the build of this thing, and as you can probably see from the video, this is a monoblock machined design, so it's made of steel. It's a steel monoblock, and you can see basically it's a full one-piece cassette. There's no in and outs, it all sticks together. I gotta say, I would have thought that the inside ridges here would have gone the whole way across to fit onto the hub, but no, it just sits right on the edges on the front and sits right on the edges on the back as well. And apart from that, there's not much to it, it's just a nicely machined one. As you can see here, I've got the 12-speed version in 1134, so this is the biggest version, and the only bolts that actually live on here are these ones. There's quite a lot of them. I would have thought the whole thing would have been machined, but I think this top piece might be aluminium. It's hard to tell. Otherwise, I'd see no other reason as why you would need to bolt this top piece on there. Although one thing you do normally see with aluminium is that this piece is normally a little bit thicker to give it more strength, whereas this one, it is not thicker. But it seems to be holding up just fine. As you can see, I've done like 2,500 kilometers on this thing, and the black coating on it is barely worn off at all. You can start to see some of the silver coming through, but barely any of the blacks come off, which I'm really impressed with. Now, when we get onto the weight of this thing, this one comes in at 247 grams, so this one piece, for your £74. A Dura cassette comes in for the same 1134, that comes in at 253 grams. So there's actually a 4-gram difference between the two cassettes here, which is very impressive considering that this is a lot less. So not that it makes that much difference, but with this one being 6 grams lighter, well, it's almost hard to justify the Dura one. The one that I've got specifically here is the HG Road version. They do it in a silver version as well if you want silver. And of course they do it in lots of different speeds, you know, 10, 11, 12 speed. So you get your choices, and of course lots of different sizes. You know, do you want a 1130, 1132, 1134? It gives you lots of options on there. One thing that I am impressed with is that there's no cassette bite really. So you can see here where I had a previous cassette on there, but actually on the inside and the outside where this sits, no cassette bite at all on this thing. It just comes from the old cassette that I had on there. What's the shifting performance like on this cassette? And I currently have it set up with a waxed KMC chain, just a normal 12-speed KMC chain that I got for like £20. But I have also used this cassette with an ultegra 12-speed chain as well, and I had the same experiences with this KMC chain. So the way I'll describe it is crisp, it is sharp, it does find the gear straight away. It just doesn't gel like the Shimano group set does with the Shimano chain. And with that being said, like it's like 90 to 95% the same, to be honest. Like I said, it's not quite perfect. It does very rarely miss a shift. It just takes that little bit longer than you kind of want it to. If I'm trying to find more ways to describe it, it's just a smidge more clunkier than a Shimano paired cassette, especially with the new 12-speed ones that they have out there. And it's just slightly slower to hook up into the next gear, whether you're going down into a harder gear or up into an easy gear. It just doesn't quite happen as quickly as a Shimano cassette and chain together. Well, I think that's rather impressive from this, that it does just work just fine. If you come up close, you can't quite see those like hyperglide elements where some of the teeth look like half teeth and have very different shapes. They're all very similar all the way through, which I suspect is some of the difference as to why, but it also makes it much simpler to machine and much simpler to make and cheaper to make as well. So yeah, for me, if you're really pedantic about how fast and snappy and you can really feel every single shift that you do on your bike, maybe it's not the cassette for you. I'd probably stick with a Shimano ecosystem. But if that really doesn't bother you and you want to get the same weight as a Dura Ace cassette for like a third of the price, then this is definitely a cassette worth considering. So I believe the steel has actually been hardened by tempering it. So that's where you warm the steel up and then you dip it into some like cool water or cool oil and it just tempers and hardens it more. And this is meant to make it more resistant to abrasion. You've probably seen in the earlier clips, I'm quite amazed at how well the black coating has stayed on this steel. It's starting to wear through now. I'm about 2,000 to 2,500 kilometers on this thing. Like I said, I do only use a wax chain, so it probably holds the life of the cassette a lot longer. But then on the other hand, I do only run this thing through winter. This is my winter bike here. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. Just something I fancy washing less, and it's got much easier gearing. I've got like a compact on the front and 1134 in here. So not normally cycling as hard on this cassette, which is fair. But yeah, it seems to do just fine. My experience has been great with the durability so far. I would like to know if any of you have this cassette or similar cassettes. If you've had any problems or anything like that, it would just be good to know, because just one person's experience doesn't represent everybody's experience. But the build quality feels absolutely solid from it though, and it also gets a thumbs up from Trace Velo, this thing. To conclude, for me, this is a really cost-effective way of saving weight on your bike, especially if you're looking to do a cheaper build, or like me, like you're just doing a winter build here, then it's actually much cheaper just to buy this cassette. Saves weight, as cheap as an ultegra, but way lighter, and seems to so far be standing the test of time. I will put it in the description down below if something does happen to it, but I'm suspecting so far it'll probably survive another winter just okay. Like I said, in the shifting quality of this section, if you're really pragmatic about how beautiful those shifts are, and if every single one is absolutely perfect, then this might not be the cassette for you. But like I said, if you like 90 to 95% of the quality of the Shimano cassettes, it actually works just fine, this thing. I also think maybe if you are racing, I find when I'm pushing out a bit more power on this thing, trying to trace back up to the group kind of stuff, then maybe I do notice those slower shifts that happen on this thing. But like I said, it's only those specific situations, and this is here on my winter bike for more chilled riding, rather than those fast, energetic situations where those faster, crisper shifts really do make the difference. Guys, if there's anything that I've missed on here or you want me to describe further, please ask me in the comments below. I reply to pretty much most of them, or you can always message me privately on Instagram over here. But I've been Jason, this has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in another video.